and it's another episode. All right, this is Bedtime Stories Grown Up Edition, Part 4 of What You Owe Me. So the next morning comes. Angela opens her eyes. She slept real good, especially after reading her Bible, having her prayer, cuddling up with her handsome husband all night. She basically is ready to start her day. She has to start her morning at her doctor's appointment, though. So she gets up. On her bedside table is her favorite cup of half decaf, half regular coffee, just the way she likes it. She really prefers her full strength coffee, but because they're going through the IVF process, she's already started to cut back on her caffeine intake, and she started to eat healthier and make better choices for her and her baby. On the nightstand is her prenatal vitamins and her iron and all of the things that she needs to get started on her day. Her worship music is already playing for her lightly because these are the things that her husband does for her every morning to help her get started on her day. He leaves a little earlier, so when she wakes up in the morning, she knows that he's thinking about her. Angela sits up and thanks God for waking her up another day. She starts sipping on her coffee and reading her devotional and thinking about the day to come. She's just kind of running through all of the things that need to happen. And all of a sudden she realizes that a call's coming in on her cell phone. So she looks down and checks the caller ID, and it's her mother-in-law, Miss Brenda. So she answers the phone. "Good morning, Miss Brenda." Miss Brenda says, "Hey, baby, how you feeling today?" And Angela says, "Oh, I can't complain." And Miss Brenda says, "And if you did, no one would care." And they both laugh. And Miss Brenda says, "You have an appointment today, don't you, baby?" And Angela says, "Yes, ma'am, I sure do." Miss Brenda says, "Is my son going with you to your appointment?" And Angela says, "No, ma'am, he's already gone for the day. He's already at work. He has some major issues that he's trying to deal with at work, so he's not going to be able to make it." Miss Brenda says, "Yeah, well, I figured. So who's going with you to your appointment, baby?" And Angela says, "Oh, I was just going to go by myself. You know, he let me know kind of last minute, so I didn't really want to bother anybody." Miss Brenda says, "Bother anybody? Well, baby, if you have time, just swing by here and pick me up, and I'll be glad to go with you. And then we can go and have us some breakfast and sit and talk for a while if you have time. Some things I want to discuss with you." Angela says, "Well, yes, ma'am, that would be great if you don't mind. Are you sure you're feeling up to it?" Miss Brenda said, "Feeling up to it? What you mean? Why are you talking to me like I'm some old sickly woman or something? I'm perfectly fine." Angela says, "I know, but I know you were having some problems with your thyroid, so I just want to be cognizant of you and how you're doing." Miss Brenda said, "You are such a sweet girl, but baby, I promise you, I am fine. I am healthy as a horse, and I would love to go with my beautiful daughter-in-law to find out when I'm going to get my very first grandbaby." Angela says, "Well, I appreciate it. I will be there in 20 to 25 minutes. And Miss Brenda says, "And I'm already dressed and ready to go. I'll be waiting on the porch." And Angela laughs and says, "So you just knew I was going to say yes." And Miss Brenda says, "Indeed. All right, baby, talk to you and see you soon." And Miss Brenda hangs up. Angela just shakes her head and says, "That woman somehow always knows." It's like God just calls her on the phone and tells her when we need her. Since this isn't Angela's first rodeo, she knows how this goes. She just throws on something that's going to make her comfortable, brushes her teeth, washes her face, and goes ahead and heads out of the door. She knows that she's going to need a shower after her full examination at the doctor's office. She heads on over to Miss Brenda's, and sure enough, when she pulls up, Miss Brenda is waiting for her on the porch. Miss Brenda comes down and gets into the car, and she says, "Oh, baby, it took you exactly 20 minutes to get here. Ain't that something?" Angela says, yes, ma'am. I kind of have the route down pat at this point. Miss Brenda says, I bet you do. So talk to me, baby. How have things been going with you and my son? Angela says, now, Miss Brenda, you told us when we got married that if we ever needed any advice, we needed to call you with both of us on the phone, or we needed to come to your house with both of us in the car. Miss Brenda laughs and says, I sure did, baby. But you're not asking me for any advice. I'm asking you how things are going. I think that I have a right to ask that as the matriarch of this family. Angela says, yes, ma'am, you absolutely do. Well, things are going well. As you know, we've been trying for a long time to have a baby. And the miscarriages and the fertility issues have really taken a toll on each of us emotionally and spiritually, and obviously on me physically. And to be perfectly honest, I don't even really know how it's affected Marcus. He says he's okay. He says he's okay with whatever happens. But you know, we're down to our last embryo, and we agreed that this would be it. We wouldn't try anything else after this. So this is literally like our last hope. Angela says all of this while staring out the front windshield, keeping her eyes on the road. And Miss Brenda said, baby, you know you don't have to be strong all the time, right? You know that's not your job, right? You know you're supposed to lean and depend on, right? And Angela says, yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. And I have been. I've been giving it all to God. I've been trusting him and I've believed him. And he's promised me that we will have a child. It's just a little scary because when you look at what's happening and you get distracted, exactly, baby. You get distracted by what you see. Faith is not about what you see, baby. It's about what God said. And you have to trust what God says over what you see. At that moment, Angela's phone rings, and it rings on the Bluetooth in the car. And LJ's name comes across the screen. But Angela doesn't go to answer it. So Miss Brenda says, you're not going to answer that, baby? And Angela says, no, ma'am, that's my childhood friend LJ calling me probably with some gossip. And Miss Brenda says, oh, okay. The phone stops ringing and she says, it's just something strange going on, and I really don't want to talk to LJ because I feel like it's just more the same. I mean, it's been a while since he's called me with any kind of drama, you know, talking about Marcus, and I thought that he was happy for us, especially since he's married to Regina now, but he's saying that he overheard some conversation or something with Marcus yesterday that he thinks I would want to hear, and I just don't want to play into that. Like, I'm not that way. I don't take too kindly to people talking negatively about my husband. And Miss Brenda says, baby, if he hasn't said a word negative about Marcus since he and Regina got together, and he has information that you might need, you need to talk to him. Just because you hear don't mean you gotta believe.